Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to people who are watching from different parts of the world. First and foremost, I hope you all are still basking on the glory of Manchester United defeating Arsenal at the Emirates. All right. I was at work today, and for the whole day, I was actually trying to think about the game as much as I can. And while traveling back from work, I was almost stuck in a traffic for around 1.5, 2 hours because it was bad weather today, and I just couldn't, drive. So I was taking the public transport. So I was trying to think a couple of things, and I thought I'll make a video on it today. So, how do you actually win a game where you have less possession, you have fewer shots, lower XG than your opponent, and you spend long periods defending in your own box against the league leaders? You're away from home where they haven't lost a single game there all season. All right. So you don't dominate them because you can't dominate them because their midfield is better than yours. So called defense is better than yours. They conceded less than 15 goals up until now. Uh, what you basically do is that you outthink them because Manchester United's victory over Arsenal, right? This wasn't chaos football. This wasn't luck. And this was definitely not smash and grab football. This was Manchester United understanding the flow of the game and striking when Arsenal lost control of the margins. And to understand why this win made more sense, we need to talk about three, four things in this entire game. The first thing is how Arsenal locked United. All right. Let's be very honest. For the first 25, 27, or 30 minutes, right? United didn't have a sniff in the game. They had locked completely from the midfield, from defense, from United's forward line. The game was locked. But the second thing is, how did United break that grip? Very quietly. No shusha about it. And why a raw 21-year-old fullback called Patrick Dorgu explains everything about this Manchester United side. Without waiting or without wasting much time, let's get into this. So the first thing is the Arsenal's control. All right. Before that, I'll like to share my screen so that you can see much more of what I was trying to explain to you. So this was how both the teams were lined up. For everyone who was wondering what exactly happened, or if you were living inside a rock, Gabriel Jesus started this game ahead of Gyökeres. I mean, let's be very honest, right? Gyökeres hasn't hit the Premier League on fire. United went unchanged. Why fix something when it's not broken? So Michael Carrick went with the same 11. Gabriel Jesus started for Arsenal. I was very surprised on why Saka was starting, but having said that, right, I mean, Arsenal's talisman is Saka. Most importantly, this midfield was never going to change, which is Odegaard, Zubimendi, and Rice. And Hincapi, the experiment of Timber on left back has completely stopped from Arteta, and Timber went to the right side, Saliba, Gabriel, and Hincapi on the left-hand side, and then David Raya, who's possibly one of the best goalkeepers in Premier League right now. So the lineup was no surprise, bearing starting of Jesus. So what exactly happened in this game? What did United do? But before what United did, right, let's understand what did Arsenal do in this game which made United's life a lot more difficult. Okay. For the first 30 minutes, Arsenal were exactly what we expect them to be. They were structured, they were rotational. If I had to use the word, they were relentless. On their left hand side, Declan Rice, Trossard, Hincapi kept rotating, dragging Amad Diallo deeper and deeper. Behind them, Zubimendi positioned himself high, allowing Saliba and Gabriel to squeeze the entire length of the pitch. Then there was Odegaard. Not flashy, but very devastating for the first 30 minutes because he drifted between the lines, sometimes central, sometimes inside the right hand side channel, pulling United out of shape completely. Now, why I say they pulled United out of the shape is very simple. I was actually watching the game over and over again, right? And I was trying to think what happened for Odegaard. Like, he didn't have a great game. But in the first 30 minutes, United were caught completely. Right. So let me explain this to you what was happening with Odegaard. Now, if you look at this image very carefully, right? If you look at Saka, right, who's already playing on the right hand side, who was playing with Shaw. Declan Rice up front, Gabriel Jesus up front, Trossard on the left hand side, Zubimendi, like I said, was positioning himself high. Look at where Saliba is. Now, what happened with Martin Odegaard is Martin Odegaard was playing somewhere around here. Okay, when the game came to press, Martin Odegaard was the guy who was pressing to Sonny Lemons. Now, this explains two things for anyone who's watching the game. Now, if you look at Odegaard's vision, right, Odegaard is circling entire defense area. Now, the more I scan it, right, Odegaard is getting a better view of the pitch. What he's trying to basically tell people is that now when I look at this, what he's trying to tell people is that I will press the goalkeeper. In case if he makes a mistake, there is two players who are going to run up front. One is Saka, who will run at this side. Then there is Gabriel Jesus, who will easily beat Maguire. Then there is Declan Rice, who's at the edge of the box. All three of them, okay, mind you, all three of them will try to win the second ball, which makes United's life a lot difficult. This is exactly what happened in that first 30 minutes, where he drifted between the lines, sometimes central, sometimes inside the right hand side channel, pulling entire United's midfield out of shape. Now, out wide, if you think about it, Timber was already making overlapping runs inside Bukayo Saka, while Saka held the width one on one with Luke Shaw, like I showed you in that image. That combination produced the opening goal. But the bigger story was what I just showed you, which was off the ball. When Arsenal lost possession, they didn't retreat. They attacked United's exits, which basically meant they pressed into a 4-4-2. Now, why do I keep saying that 4-4-2, right? Odegaard jumped alongside Gabriel Jesus. Now, Rice and Zubimendi were locked onto Casemiro and Maino. Even Bruno Fernandes couldn't drop deep without being followed by a centre back, like you saw. Gabriel and Saliba were continuously following till the high line. United were pinned. They were forced wide, forced into risky dribbles. This wasn't Arsenal dominating the ball. This was Arsenal controlling the space. Remember, I have said multiple times in multiple videos, right? The team who controls the space is the one who actually wins the game. If you think about it, you would have heard the term half space, inverted winger. You would have heard the term the team is rotational, all those sort of things. What basically this means is that the team controls the space where people are going to pass. And for 30 minutes, Arsenal did that. What basically happened was United couldn't breathe. Then something interesting happened in this entire game. It was not a tactical switch. It was not a substitution. Okay, let me explain this to you. In a better manner, which is in the form of an image. What basically happened in this entire game was not because of Zubimendi's mistake, if I had to really call it. Look, I'm someone who doesn't blame any individual player for their mistake. I always believe that mistakes are happening because of previous gameplay. Okay, and this is exactly what happened with Arsenal as well in that game. You can say as much as you want about Zubimendi. Of course, he made an extremely bad mistake. I mean, there is no taking away from that. But there was something interesting which was happening much before the move even happened. If you think about it, United started pressing higher without the ball. What it basically meant was, let me explain this to you even in a a better way. So if I just share my screen here. So yes, there we go. If I just show you what happened, right? If you remember, Zubimendi dropped deep, right? Odegaard started moving up front. United's front five, or however you want to call it, right? They all started moving in multiple phases of attack. This is where all your attack was at that point of time, of which Mbuomo was the guy who was lurking around Gabriel and Saliba, if you remember. Zubimendi came here. Timber was already on the other side. Saka, Trossard was on this particular side. Hincapi had moved to completely opposite side, right? Hincapi started running up front. Declan Rice was almost on Fernandes, but then something magical happened. Zubimendi, who got the ball, assumed that Saliba was going to go ahead. So he thought, I will play this particular ball to Gabriel. What happened at that point of time was Fernandes pressed against Zubimendi, which forced him to pass to Gabriel. And David Raya suddenly started panicking, thinking, oh my God, what am I supposed to do right now? This is exactly the moment where Mbuomo got the ball. Gabriel did a moonwalk on Mbuomo. Mbuomo took the ball on the other side, and that's how the goal happened. Now, if I'm being very honest about it, yes, you can blame almost half of these things to Zubimendi. All right. There is no one who's going to say something about it. He misplaced a pass. Mbomo pounced on it. David Raya is rounded. Score is 1-1. Suddenly, this changed the entire tone of the game. But here is the key point which I wanted to tell to a lot of people. The goal wasn't luck. Okay. Because Carrick's Manchester United were already preparing themselves for central access. Lisandro Martinez was stepping up again and again in that midfield, trying to push the ball ahead. He was trying to break the game in a forward manner. You know, I always said that under Ruben Amorim, one of the most important factors which I had seen was your centre back never presses ahead. Okay. Under Carrick, it was opposite of it in the first game. In Man City game, Lisandro Martinez's biggest task was to manage Erling Haaland. But just look at this particular image which I wanted to show. This is what I was talking about. Martinez was starting to move ahead from the central defense to almost central midfield place. When the ball came to Casemiro, look at what Bruno Fernandes is doing. He's asking for the ball here. Dorgu was almost on this side. Okay, Dallo was here, Diallo was there. Like I said, Hincapi started running towards Dallo. Brian Mbuomo was still around Gabriel. What entirely changed this particular moment was when Martinez started pushing up front, Gabriel realized, you know what, the ball is not going to be played back. I might as well press Casemiro. Small error from Gabriel, but this was very well planned by Carrick. Like I was saying, they were preparing for central axis. Now, Diego Dallo began moving inside, not overlapping. Bruno stopped living permanently as a number 10, started dragging his markers away. And from the left, Patrick Dorgu began doing something Arsenal hadn't fully prepared for. He stopped hugging the touchline. He started moving inside. Zubimendi at that point of time got confused, looking at it, thinking, what am I supposed to do? Should I play against Dorgu or should I wait and give the ball to Gabriel? He did what most people would have thought, which is the safe option, give to Gabriel. But it was a small misplaced pass. United weren't trying to win territory. They were trying to win the moments in this game. Now, this is where the game turns tactically. Okay. Carrick didn't chase Arsenal or Arteta structure. He attacks the space between it. Dallo starts inverting to create an extra central body, which makes life easy for almost every one of the players who are playing it. Now, what happened because of that was, let me try and explain it to you again. Because of Martinez's movement on the other side, when I say other side, when he started pressing up front, Dallo creates that inverted space. Bruno rotates or roams around his markers, which destabilizes them. Mbuomo drifts away from the ball and starts stretching the center back. This led Dorgu became an inside runner, which is a term which you will hear more often in modern day football. He was not a winger, not a fullback. He was a transitional threat. Right. Let me try and explain you again with a better image. So probably you can understand what I'm trying to break it down. Now, if you see, like I said, Casemiro got the ball. Bruno was here. Suddenly, right, Arsenal's midfield and defense is looking at who's marking Bruno? No one. And Declan Rice is here. He's like, someone mark Bruno. What happens? Because of that, okay, Zubimendi starts running towards Bruno. This leaves Patrick Dorgu vacant. Gabriel and Saliba both realized that, you know what, Dorgu is getting vacant. One mistake from Saliba in yesterday's night, that's the highest compliment I can give to Saliba, right? He didn't make any mistakes, but he was a second late. That 1 second late, ball to Fernandes to Dorgu to Fernandes, and then we all know what happened in that particular moment. He hit past David Raya. But massive credit to Diego Dallo. What he did was he moved inside. Odegaard didn't know what to do because he was like, oh, there is Amad Diallo and there is Dallo. You know what? Ball is going to come to Bruno. Bruno will play to him. And then Odegaard got stuck here. Amad Diallo, Mboma happened. Now, one more possibility which could have happened was had Fernandez played a through ball, Mboma would have been the first to get that ball. So overall, Dorgu was one of the important moments in that game. United suddenly had numbers between Arsenal's lines, and once again, Arsenal's midfield concentration drops even slightly. The structure cracks. Patrick Dorgu's early goal in the second half isn't a hopeful hit. It's a product of Arsenal losing compactness, United sustaining possession in the central of the pitch, and Arsenal caught between chasing the game and protecting the game. That's not chaos football. That's composure shown by Michael Carrick's Manchester United. At 2-1 down, Arsenal react, which is expected. On came Gyökeres, Eze, Merino, Ben White. Talent everywhere. But structurally, something breaks. You know what? Odegaard goes off, and with him goes Arsenal's central conductor. Timber shifts to left back, Ben White moves to right back, and suddenly Timber's biggest strength, which is box crashing, suddenly disappears. Arsenal go wider, more cross, more corners, and this is exactly what United wanted. Carrick drops his team into a compact low block at that point of time. Sometimes a back five, always a narrow option, which basically means one pivot drops between the defensive line. Wingers start tracking back. There was no Eden Hazard where he complained to Mourinho saying that, hey, I am a winger, I'm not tracking back. Cunha came on for United. Cunha and Bruno stayed under the ball, not pressing foolishly like how they used to do all 10 outfield players inside their own third. This isn't desperate defending. This was a plan. United had the game. Arsenal had the ball. Now, what basically made a big difference at such point of time was very simple if you think about it, right? Now, if I just show you what I was trying to say here. See, Gyökeres, Eze, Merino, Saka. Now you see what happened. You see almost 19 players of United not man marking. They were just waiting for the ball to be played. Now Saka is actually yelling to Declan Rice saying that, dude, I'm free, just pass me the ball. But in between was Ben White. Had Ben White, okay, if I just show you something, had Ben White been here, okay, and let's say Rice's ball directly came to Saka, United were caught in the attack. Of course, you would have to rely on someone like Martinez or something like that for that orbit to understand what exactly was going to happen. But United played to their strengths. United realized that this game wasn't done. Okay, and it's very important for fans to realize these are small things which Michael Carrick kind of changed in his system. Now, when I said United defended in low block, I did not mean that United were defensive. All I meant was United realized that Arsenal are chasing the game. I don't need to do anything stupid. All I need to do is being smart. Look at this another example. What happens here? Declan Rice has the ball. Timber has suddenly moved on to the right side. Eze is double marked. Declan Rice has got no particular pass directly towards anyone here. His only pass, what anyone can see at that point of time, is look for a through ball here. Okay, look at his vision. And his first pass is actually a through ball. But can he actually play a through ball to Gyökeres? No. Because there is Martinez and there is Maguire, there is Dalot, who's already looking at all these sort of players, right? The important thing to note that is that Arsenal were eventually playing for set piece. Arsenal did equalize from a corner, the 13th set piece goal of the season. And that moment, Emirates believed that, you know what, we are going to do this. But belief doesn't win games, composure does. Because minutes later, Matthias Cunha strikes from a distance. 3 shots on target, 3 goals, and the stadium goes quiet. They lost it because once the game became messy, United were much calmer side. This is where the importance of Patrick Dorgu comes in. Now, here's which connects everything what I told you before. Patrick Dorgu is not a superstar. I am not a biggest fan of Patrick Dorgu either because I think he's raw, he's inconsistent, he's still learning. United didn't sign him by accident. Okay, massive credit to Ruben Amorim. When clubs across Europe asked him to wait, United didn't. Jason Wilcox and Ruben Amorim pitched him the idea of how he would be used. Now, what he was, but what he could become. A player of maximum effort, not maximum output. At Lecce, he survived. At United, he's being shaped. He's played 5 different positions in 7 different games for Manchester United. Now, if you don't believe me, this is exactly what Patrick Dorgu's total minutes and number of position he's played. He's played as a left wing back, he's played as a left midfielder, left attacking midfielder, right attacking midfielder. Like I said, he's played 5 different positions in total in 7 games. He makes recovery runs like his life depends on it. Right now, just look at Patrick Dorgu's crossing. He attacks like fullbacks, like it was the 96-97 season where knock and chase, right? That is why Carrick trusts him, because Carrick realizes that he's a man with limited effort, but he will put it. He will give 100% of it. Because Michael Carrick's Man United don't need perfection. They need obedience to structure. Dorgu doesn't decorate games. He decides them, and he decides them in a very weird manner. When I think about it, look at his successful take-ons. His stats on successful take-ons almost try to show you that it's very low. But when he takes on, it is at the crucial moment. And hence I said, Dorgu doesn't decorate games, he decides them. So, after all what I have said, right, the big question, what does this actually mean for Arsenal? Okay. Now, if I'm being very honest to myself and to everyone, for Arsenal, you're still top of the league, but the gap is only 4 points. But control without composure is absolutely fragile. And for United, this isn't a rebuild yet. This is a reboot. Simple ideas, right profiles, choosing right players at right times, clear instructions. And for Michael Carrick, he didn't ask for hype. He's earning attention because right now Manchester United don't look chaotic and Arsenal, they look familiar. Subscribe to PN Playbook because when narratives crack, we notice. See you in the next one.